Hello everybody, my name is Emmett, and today this video is going to be a little different. I know normally I post like reviews of things and stuff, but I had a couple of people that requested I talk about sort of mental and emotional changes that I've had while on testosterone. So this is just a quick warning. I will be talking about mental health and emotional health and things that go along with that. So if that's something that might be, triggering for you, because some of the things that I will be talking about are pretty rough, I totally understand. Do what's best for you. Don't watch this. It's not going to hurt my feelings any, because I get it. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to listen to, but I think this is some stuff that might be good for some other people to hear, and I think it might be good for me to really talk about it too. Okay, so I guess really the best thing to do would be sort of give a rundown of my mental health history. So I do have a history of, severe anxiety, depression. I always have, even when I was little, I was severely anxious. The depression didn't really come until, maybe I was preteen. Puberty started when I was 11. I think that's, really the big thing that sort of started that. I've always been extremely dysphoric about my body, my gender, and the way it has been perceived by the people around me, and the way I've perceived it myself. Even before I really knew that there was a name for it. So that's sort of, where I'm coming from. High school, it got a lot worse. I was severely depressed. I started self-harming when I was 12, and that didn't really completely stop until, I don't know, maybe within the past 6 months or so. It was sort of an off or on thing all through middle school, high school, majority of college, and a lot of that was linked to my dysphoria, to my anxiety, and I'm not really sure why. I mean, with the dysphoria part, I kind of got it more, but with the anxiety, I don't really know why that was my outlet for my anxiety, but it was. So that's sort of my sort of mental health, just a super, a very general, brief rundown of my mental health history. So more specifically, in relation to, being trans and transitioning and hormones and things. When I was pre-T, I would say, okay, just for super general, easy. When I was pre-T, my anxiety, depression was about, let's say, here. When I started testosterone, my anxiety and depression was still about here. Starting hormones didn't really change that much. It made me feel, I guess, better knowing that I had hit that milestone. But, it didn't really impact anything. I know a lot of people talk about, I had my first shot of testosterone and, my anxiety went away. I wasn't depressed anymore. That didn't happen for me. Actually, if anything, I would say that those first 6 months or so on testosterone, my anxiety, my depression were worse. My dysphoria was a lot worse. And I think the reason that is because I was comparing my transition, my medical transition, to other people's medical transitions. And I would see where someone else was, I don't know, 4 months on T. I would see where they were, and I would compare it to where I was 4 months on T. and like they would be, like way up here and I'd be way down here. And it made me feel so bad because, why isn't this working for me like it is for other people? Why am I not seeing the changes that other people are? Why are people that haven't been on testosterone as long as me seeing more changes than I am? What is happening? What is wrong? And I was so focused on my body in ways that I hadn't been before, looking for changes and not seeing those changes, but also being hyper aware of the way my body was before those changes started happening, that I just sort of spiraled. And my depression was so much worse. My anxiety was so much worse. I was so hyper focused on everything about myself. And I was in a really, 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 really bad place for those first 6 or 7 months that I was on testosterone, because I was not seeing the changes that I thought should have been happening. After that period, when I started seeing some changes, I started seeing more body hair, my voice dropped a little bit, I started seeing more facial hair. Then I started feeling a little bit better as far as like dysphoria went. It never went away, but I wasn't, I don't know, I was reacting to it differently. I was processing my body differently because I was seeing the changes. So I felt better about my body because I could actively see the changes that I had wanted for so long happening. And that made me feel a little bit better as far as dysphoria went. But anxiety and depression didn't really go away. My anxiety has gotten a little bit better now. At this point, I'm about 15 months on testosterone. My anxiety is a little better about things. Depression is still where it always has been. So that's, something, I guess. But I was not one of those people that medically transitioning fixed my problems. It didn't fix my anxiety. It didn't fix my depression. It didn't fix my dysphoria. For some people it does, but for me it didn't. And I wish, like I said, that I was aware that it wouldn't fix my problems before I started testosterone, but I think in like the back of my mind, like I thought that it would. So for it to not was a huge blow to me emotionally and like mentally. But now, like my anxiety is still very present, but it's sort of shifted to different things. My depression is still there, my dysphoria is still there, but it's sort of shifted to different things. And as far as emotions go, emotionally, I feel like I'm not any more or less emotional than I was before. But I think that compared to being pre-T, I think the way I process my emotions is a little different. Now, like before, I would feel an emotion and I would react outwardly to that emotion pretty quickly. And now I feel like, I feel that emotion just as strongly as I did before. But before I really have any sort of outward reaction to it, I sort of think about it first. So a lot of the time, like I'll feel something, my mind will be like, oh, okay, this is what we're feeling. And then there is no really outward reaction. Particularly with negative emotions. Like I feel like it's more internal now than it was before. I can't really cry anymore, which I'm okay with, for the most part. Even if something's really, really sad, But like sometimes I'll just, like the dumbest thing will make me sad. I know this wasn't really, I don't know that this really answered the questions that the ones of you that asked me to talk about this had. If it didn't, please feel free to like message me on, like Twitter or like Instagram or something, and like you can like specifically ask me like about a thing, and I'll do my best to answer it for you. I might even do a second part to this video if anybody has like specific questions that you want to ask, because I want my channel to be somewhere that like you feel comfortable like openly asking questions about these about these things that are hard to talk about, like mental health, emotional health, dysphoria, how that's changed, things like that. So I know that was sort of a rough video, or at least rougher than what I usually post. But I do hope that that answered your questions. Like I said, if it didn't, please feel free to like reach out to me. I'm happy to talk more about things privately if that would make you feel more comfortable. If there's anything that you want me to talk about, please let me know. I love to talk about the things that you all want to hear about. So, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, subscribe here, leave comments, anything that you feel comfortable with, I'm all for the interaction.